Welcome to Stories That Hurt. Here, we share stories that touch the heart, stories that invite you to pause, feel, and reflect. Story: the guy who almost chose peanut butter over love in a mid-sized American city big enough for traffic. Small enough that you still run into your ex at Target lived Jake Miller, 31, software engineer, fantasy football addict, and absolutely, unapologetically obsessed with peanut butter. For Jake, peanut butter wasn't just food. It was a personality trait. He had a jar of creamy at home, a jar of crunchy at work, a backup emergency jar in his desk drawer, and once, during a very dark time, those weird peanut butter protein noodles he absolutely regretted. His mom used to joke, "If they take your blood, they'll find Skippy." His college ex once said, "I feel like I'm dating a golden retriever that smells like peanuts." He took it as a compliment. Speed dating. Against his will one Friday night, his friend Matt dragged him to a speed dating event in a downtown bar. "Come on," Matt said. "You sit at home, code, eat peanut butter, and watch The Office on repeat. This is unhealthy." Jake rolled his eyes. "I'm not unhealthy. Peanut butter has protein. That's practically self-care. Get in the Uber." At the event, Jake scanned the room. 30 people who all looked like they had LinkedIn Premium and complicated coffee orders. He planned to do the bare minimum, collect material to complain about later, and go home. On the fifth mini-date, she sat down across from him. "Hi," she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm Emily." She had the kind of smile that made his brain buffer like bad Wi-Fi. "I'm Jake," he said. "Software engineer, recovering overthinker, occasional adult." She laughed. "Current overthinker here. What do you do when you're not judging speed dating events in your head?" He blinked. Busted dot, they started talking. They watched the same shows, loved the same music, had the same irrational hatred of Monday mornings. She roasted him for still using dark mode like a hacker from a 2000s movie. He teased her for believing pineapple belonged on pizza. The 5-minute timer buzzed. They both visibly hesitated. "So," Emily said, "I guess we're supposed to rotate and pretend to be mildly interested in other people now." "Yeah," Jake said. "Can't wait to talk about what I do for fun 10 more times." She grinned. He completely forgot to mention the great peanut butter love of his life. Falling in real love, they started going on actual dates. Coffee shops, lazy walks around the city, late-night diners, terrible movies. She laughed at his jokes. He laughed at her worst ones. They DM'd each other memes at 1:37 a.m. and pretended they weren't, both waiting to see if the other would respond. Jake told her about the time he quit a stable job to build a startup with friends that crashed in 8 months. "So, what did you learn?" She asked. "That my co-founder should never be allowed near marketing again, and that instant ramen can, in fact, be a personality phase." Emily told him about burning out in her first job and starting over as a UX designer. "So what did you learn?" He asked. "That exposure doesn't pay rent, and no, Brad from marketing, I will not jazz up your 40-minute PowerPoint." They joked easily, argued playfully, and made fun of couples who did cringy TikToks together while secretly taking mental notes for future use. After a year, they moved in together. Their friends started saying things like, "So when's the wedding?" "And you two are disgustingly cute." Jake didn't hate it. He even caught himself once, drunk on a Sunday afternoon, looking at rings online. Then he immediately clicked away and opened a tab for best natural peanut butter brands in America to calm down. The peanut butter problem appears one weekend morning. Jake was in their kitchen, making his holy grail breakfast, toast with peanut butter and banana. He hummed quietly, happy in his element. It was his ritual-like meditation, if meditation stuck to the roof of your mouth. "Hey, he called out. "You want to try my legendary peanut butter banana toast? This is my thing." She walked in, saw the jar on the counter, and went pale. "Oh no," she said under her breath. "What?" Jake asked. "It's not off-brand, I swear. I'd never betray you like that." She forced a weak smile. "I have a severe peanut allergy." He laughed. Then he saw her face and stopped, like, "How severe?" He asked slowly. She pointed at the jar like it was a live grenade. "If I eat that, I go to the A. If you eat that and kiss me soon after. I might also go to the I carry an EpiPen. I don't joke about this. The word EpiPen hit him harder than any breakup text. Wait, what? And you never said anything? He asked. You never ate peanut butter around me, she said. I thought maybe you were one of those almond butter hipsters. He looked at his toast like it had personally betrayed them both. You mean, if I want to kiss you? He started. You can't be eating peanut butter beforehand, she finished gently. We'd have to be very careful. She tried to make light of it. On the bright side, you'll have minty fresh breath more often. That's a win for both of us. But Jake just stood there, peanut butter knife in hand, staring at his entire nutritional belief system. The slow, stupid spiral at first, Jake tried. He put the jar away. He Googled cross-contamination like he was prepping for a final exam. He listened while she explained restaurants they had to avoid, snacks that were dangerous, the drill if anything went wrong. But in his head, a voice started whispering, no peanut butter? Ever? For the rest of your life? He started resenting that little voice, and without meaning to, resenting the situation. He went from, of course I'll be careful. You're more important, too, so I can never just make a PB&J at midnight again? He didn't say it out loud, but she could feel him pulling back. One day, after a stressful week, he drove home from work, exhausted, irritable, and craving comfort. He passed a grocery store, slammed the brakes, and walked out 10 minutes later with a jar of peanut butter. He sat in his car in the parking lot, eating it straight from the jar with a plastic spoon like some kind of secret addict. Is this what rock bottom looks like? He muttered to himself. When he went home, he brushed his teeth twice, used mouthwash, then Googled, how long after eating peanut butter is it safe to kiss someone with an allergy? Like a man searching for absolution. The next week. His office sent out an email. Friendly reminder, the 3rd floor is now a peanut-free zone due to severe allergies. Jake stared at the screen. First my girlfriend, now HR. He grumbled. Is there a national conspiracy against my lunch? His coworker Amy side-eyed him. Welcome to adulthood. Jake, it's just your childhood snacks and back pain slowly being outlawed. The breaking point, the tension kept building. Jake grew distant without even fully knowing why. Where Emily used to see a guy who supported her, she now saw a guy who kept looking at her like she was a walking restriction. One night, she finally asked, "What's going on with you?" "Nothing," he lied. "You've been nothing for 3 weeks," she said. "You can barely talk about our future anymore." Did I miss a memo? He swallowed. The worst part was he loved her. He knew that. But something in him was angry at the idea of permanently giving something up something. It wasn't about the peanuts. It was about change, responsibility, commitment. The fact that this wasn't just fun girlfriend time anymore. This was real, adult, forever stuff. He took a breath and said the dumbest sentence of his life. I don't know if I can live without peanut butter. The silence that followed was worse than any shouting match. You're joking, right? Emily asked quietly. For you, it's an allergy and a health risk. He rushed on. For me, it's part of who I am. I've eaten peanut butter since I was a kid. It was my comfort food, my go-to. It's like I'd have to give up this huge part of my life. Always thinking about what I can eat, what I can't, always being afraid to mess up. So you're literally choosing peanut butter over me? She asked, eyes shiny. I'm choosing a life where I don't feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells, he said, defensive and scared and way too proud. Maybe I need someone I don't have to worry about killing by accident with my lunch. The words hung in the air like smoke. Emily looked at him for a long moment. Okay, she said, voice shaking but controlled. If that's how you feel, then I'm not going to beg you to stay. I have enough things that can kill me. I don't need to add a relationship where I'm treated like an inconvenience. A week later, he packed his things and left to their friends. He said vague things like, we just wanted different things and we weren't compatible long term. He did not say, I panicked about my identity and used peanut butter as an excuse. Even he wasn't ready to admit that yet. Freedom tastes kinda empty at first. Single life tasted like victory. and roasted peanuts. He bought the big jars from Costco. He made giant PB&Js at midnight. He dipped apples, crackers, spoons. His feelings, everything in peanut butter. He even hosted a peanut butter night with his buddies. "We are here," Matt announced, raising a spoon, "to honor Jake's return to the land of legumes." "Peanuts aren't legumes," Jake muttered automatically, then stopped. "Oh my god, I've become that guy." They tried different flavors: honey roasted, cinnamon, maple, no sugar added. By the end of the night, everyone had a stomachache and questionable life choices. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, his apartment was quiet. No one stole his hoodies. No one sent him TikToks at midnight. No one argued about whether the dishwasher had a right way to be loaded. Spoiler, Emily absolutely believed it did. He went on a few dates. One woman asked about his hobbies. "I'm really into peanut butter," he said automatically, then watched her face go from interested to politely horrified. "Like, in a normal way, or should I be concerned?" She asked. "Forget I said that," he replied. There were awkward laughs, some "we should do this again" texts that never happened, and one very bad date where he spent 20 minutes ranting about peanut-free policies before realizing she was an ears who had literally treated people in anaphylactic shock. She did not reply to his made-it-home safe text. The moment it clicks months later, Jake was sitting in a coffee shop, laptop open, pretending to work. At the table behind him, two women were talking. "Yeah, the new office is going to have an allergen-free floor," one said. "Apparently one of the designers has a super serious peanut allergy." "Wow," the other replied. "Honestly, anyone who complains about not being able to eat peanut butter in one place for 8 hours needs to touch grass." Jake winced. That hit a little too close to home. He walked back to his apartment, opened his pantry. 7 jars of peanut butter stared back at him. He grabbed one, the fancy one with sea salt and caramel he bought to celebrate his freedom, opened it, took a spoonful, closed his eyes, waiting for the comfort it always brought. It tasted fine. Good even. But behind the flavor, there was this dull ache, like listening to your favorite song in an empty stadium. For the first time, he let the real thought land. "I didn't choose freedom. I chose comfort. I chose not having to change. I chose the easiest thing and convinced myself it was some big principle. I walked away from a person because I didn't want to grow up." He put the spoon down. This is the dumbest metaphor for emotional immaturity in history. He muttered. Then he did something scarier than any. Breakup. He opened his messages with Emily. The message he typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, he sent, "Hey, I know I'm probably the reigning champion of dumb breakup reasons. I've had time to think, and to be honest, I was a coward. I used peanut butter as an excuse because I was scared of responsibility and change. I don't expect anything. But if you'd ever be open to meeting so I can at least apologize properly, I'd really appreciate it." He stared at his phone for 3 days, fully prepared to be left on red for all eternity. Then, finally, "Hey, Jake, I was really angry at you for a long time. Not because of the peanuts, but because you made me feel like a burden. I'll meet you. One coffee. No guarantees of anything else. And obviously, please don't eat peanut butter before you come." He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. The coffee, they met at a cafe on a Saturday. Neutral territory. No snacks with nuts in the case. He checked. Twice. She walked in right on time. Emily looked the same, but steadier. Like she'd had to rebuild some parts of herself and had done a damn good job. "Hey," she said. "Hey," replied. I did not eat anything peanut related for the last 48 hours. I might now be 90% coffee, but I'm medically safe." She smiled just a little. "Well, that's new." "You," following instructions. They sat, ordered. There was awkward small talk about work. Weather, the weird guy at the next table talking too loudly on speakerphone. Finally, Emily put her cup down. "So," she said, "say what you needed to say." Jake took a breath. "I used peanut butter as a shield," he said. "It wasn't about the allergy. I mean, it was, but not really. It was about me not wanting to change my routines, my comfort, my childish version of freedom. I told myself I shouldn't have to give up anything for anyone. He looked at her. But real relationships mean you give things up. You compromise. I just wasn't ready to admit that, so I framed it like I was some independent hero choosing my own path. When actually I was just scared. Emily watched him silently. I've been off peanut butter for 3 months, he went on. I gave it up as an experiment, thinking it'd be impossible. It wasn't. The hardest part wasn't the food. It was admitting to myself that what I did to you was unfair and selfish. He gave a half laugh. I kept thinking, peanut butter doesn't hug you when you have a bad day. It doesn't tell you your work is good when you want to quit. It doesn't send you dumb TikToks when you can't sleep. It just sits in a jar. And I walked away from someone real for a jar. She tilted her head. So what changed? She asked. I realized that living without restrictions sounded great until I understood that the biggest restriction I had was my own ego, he said. Being free doesn't mean I do whatever I want all the time. It means I can choose what matters more. And I chose wrong. He swallowed. I'm not asking you to jump back in. I'm not even asking you to forgive me today. I just wanted to tell you, you were never a burden. You were the best thing in my life. I was just too immature to handle what that meant. For the first time since she sat down, her expression softened. You know, she said slowly, the problem was never the peanut butter. It was that when things got hard, you made me feel like the problem that needed to be removed. I know, he said quietly. I hate that I did that. I don't know if I can trust you not to run again when things get complicated, she admitted. That's fair, he said. If I were you, I'd be suspicious of me too. She huffed a tiny laugh in spite of herself. So what exactly are you asking for? She said, a chance to earn back being in your life, he said. Slowly, on your terms. Coffee sometimes, walks, memes at 1 a.m. if that's still your thing. And if someday you decide I'm still not worth the risk, I'll accept that. But I don't want the last thing you remember about us to be me choosing a jar of peanut butter. Emily stared at him for a moment, then looked away out the window. You know, she said, my therapist told me if a guy ever chooses food over you, at least make sure it's something better than peanut butter. Like a Michelin star tasting menu. Jake snorted, harsh but fair. She turned back to him. I'm not promising anything, she said. But we can talk. We can see who you are now. We can see if you actually like me more than legumes. They're technically... Don't, she warned, but she was smiling. Got it, he said. No trivia. Just consistency. And if you ever again decide to pick peanut butter over me, she added. Yeah, he said. I hope it at least texts you back, she said. Because I definitely won't. He laughed, genuinely this time. Deal, he said. I've already made my choice anyway. Rebuilding one joke at a time, they didn't rush back into couplehood. They texted. They met up. They argued about movies. They shared memes. Sometimes it felt like the old days. Sometimes it felt strange and knew Jake started going with her to allergist appointments. Not as a grand gesture, but to understand. He learned what cross-contact meant, what reactions looked like, when to use an EpiPen. He stopped seeing her allergy as a limitation on his life and more like just one of the many things that came with loving a whole, real person. He swapped peanut butter for almond butter and sunflower seed butter. He discovered that, actually, some of that stuff was pretty good. Who are you? Matt asked once, and what have you done with Jake Extra Crunchy Miller? Growth, Jake said solemnly. Also, my girlfriend will literally die. Kind of a motivator. After a long time of showing up, apologizing with actions instead of just words, and not running away when life got messy, Emily let her guard down again. Slowly, carefully. Years later, they were in their kitchen again, arguing over travel plans. I'm just saying, Emily insisted. We cannot do 3 countries in 10 days. You're the one who wants to see everything, Jake countered. I'm trying to be efficient. You tried to be efficient last time, and we ended up sprinting through an airport eating cold. Sandwiches. At least they were peanut-free. He said. She rolled her eyes and laughed. Do you ever think about it? She asked suddenly, how close you came to being alone in an apartment with 7 jars of peanut butter. He slipped an arm around her waist. I mean, he said, I still have 1 jar. Top shelf of the pantry. Just as a reminder of how dumb I was. She raised an eyebrow. It's expired by now. Exactly, he said. Like my old priorities, she groaned. That was so cheesy. Cheesier than peanut butter? Peanut butter isn't cheesy. That's the whole point. He kissed her temple. Pretty sure the only peanut I need in my life now is you roasting me every day. That was terrible, she said. But she was smiling. He didn't confuse comfort with happiness anymore. Or a snack with love. And any time he forgot, he just had to look at that dusty, untouched jar on the top shelf. The one thing in his apartment that definitely wasn't worth losing her for.